My name's Jill Rowe, and in this episode of the Different Podcast, I talk with Steve Chalke about great expectations. We chat through how we can get stuck in maintenance, creating dependency, rather than challenging injustice and reaching for progress. We think about how vital it is to not settle, but to keep pushing for the fullest of lives as we live into our God-given potential, living at our peak, loving God and our neighbour as ourselves. Inclusion is always about more than, going beyond what is and keeping on, keeping on. We pray you find possibility for yourself and others in this conversation. Steve!
Jill!
How are you?
I'm all right. How about you?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah?
I think I'm good.
It's the evening, but you're still looking lively?
Yes, I'm still lively. I was just thinking about what was I going to have for my tea, actually.
And what are you going to have for your tea?
I'm going to have... Shall I tell you why? I suddenly remembered. I made it already. And
wow,
so
well, that's definitely why you're going to have it.
Yeah. It's a salad with sardines.
Oh, fantastic. That's
just
very
a
good.
light little...
Oh, no, that's very good. Very healthy, isn't it? Some protein.
Exactly,
you know?
Protein. I got the spinach in there.
Oh,
first.
God. No wonder you look so good.
You'd be proud of it. So. So it's good to talk to you. I was doing a piece of work with some of our leaders in Oasis the other day, and I put a picture up of the outside. It just happened to be Dulwich College because it's, it's not that far from
it's a nice building too.
It's an amazing building. And the reason I chose that picture and to show that picture was just to get the team to think about expectations and culture. And we just discussed the question of if you were a boy as a student, walking down that amazing pathway to that amazing building, what would the building be saying to you about who you are, and what did we imagine the staff would be thinking that their role was in your life? What were they there to help you do and become? And it was really a conversation about expectations, really, and culture. And I just said to them, I'm absolutely convinced that there isn't a single person on that staff team. And it could be it could be Eton, it could be, there isn't a single person who doesn't understand what the mission is, which is to get every individual young person, boy, to a place of success in their life, both in their exams and in their connections and all the rest of it. And I was just thinking how powerful and how strong, it's so focused, that mission, that you'd be under no illusion what the outcome was meant to be. And then it got me thinking how sometimes we might get a little bit caught in not having the same high expectations in our mission. Does that make sense to you? I don't know if that...
Yeah, it makes a huge amount of sense. In any of those buildings, I know those buildings quite well, and other public schools, independent schools, those big ones.
They're amazing, aren't they?
Yeah, Harrow, for instance, etc. I know that just being there, even as an adult, you feel I'm Harrow. Yeah, I am. And it does breathe that sense of entitlement into you. Yeah. In fact, this is who I am. This is who I fit in with. Yeah, so everybody steps up, don't they? I think that's why people love going to a cathedral for the same reason. Yeah. There's something awesome about this huge building that stood there for 1,000 years. Yeah. You feel differently because you're there. Yeah. And there's great expectations. And I do think that we can slip away from that. I think the opposite that springs to mind, and it's something that, I've been talking about even over the last few days, within Oasis, what we do, and I think this is a good thing that we do it, we run lots of food banks. Lots of food banks. I founded a food bank, started it, that now operates right across this whole part of South London, this borough and beyond. But a food bank, instead of being something visionary in your life that inspires, like that pathway you talked about. You enter the pathway and you go to the entrance, you're going somewhere. There's a sense of expectation and progress. A food bank, if you're not careful, can become a full stop in someone's life rather than a pathway onto something else. It can breed a dependency rather than ignite potential and a future journey. And we have to be really careful about doing that what we never do is create a situation where people get stuck. Now, our goal is always inclusion. We are, that's our badge,
absolutely,
to include everyone. But we got to be really careful that inclusion doesn't mean, hey, you're included as you are. It doesn't matter if you're stuck where you are, and we're just, inclusion becomes niceness. Whereas inclusion needs to push me, push everyone to achieve, as our ethos tells us, and our mission tells us, to achieve our God-given potential. Well, my God-given potential is always beyond me. I'm reaching for it. I'm striving for it. And our task, it seems to me, is to enable others to see their potential and to reach that potential rather than get stuck in the moment.
So you use that phrase God-given, and it's part of our vision, as you say. But what does God-given potential actually, what does that phrase actually mean, Steve?
I think it is that you're performing at your peak, not just perform, you're living. That's better than, I don't mean performing. I mean living at your peak. You're living a full and complete life. That doesn't mean you're not going to go through endless struggles that we talked about in these last few episodes of this podcast, but you are living to the full. Not just for yourself. In fact, as Jesus taught, love God, love your neighbour as yourself. So you're giving yourself to others, but not in a way that wears you out and grinds you into the ground, brings you new life and more potential. I think that's what it's about, and the inclusion of others and the care for others enhances your journey, doesn't it? So inclusion is about achieving potential. It's not just about getting stuck in the moment. There's that famous Bono lyric, isn't there, about Michael Hutchins, about how he gets stuck in the moment and he can't get out of it. Inclusion, our inclusion of people, is never about people getting stuck where they are and we just say, hey, that's all there is. There's always more.
Such a good challenge, Steve, because in charity sector and all the rest of it, if you're not careful, you've got this real them and us. It's we're here to help you, but this is about every single one of us, isn't it? I have God-given potential. I need to keep pushing at who am I and who am I becoming, and discovering that. Living the fullest life.
You're either growing or you're dying, aren't you? You're either pushing forward. So it's something, I say to others, because I think of myself, at the end of this year, am I going to have got further than I've got now? Will I change? Am I going to mature? Am I going to grow through this year? I jolly well hope so. Have I grown during last year or the last 5 years? I jolly well hope so. But I've been able to grow in as far as I have been able to grow because other people invest in me. Other people give themselves to me. Other people share their wisdom with me. Other people give me a leg up, open an opportunity to me, one of their contacts to me or whatever it is. So my job is not just as I grow to grow, but to ensure that I bring others with me or create opportunity for others with me.
When I think of that phrase, God-given potential, I always, for me, it's like, this is for myself as much as I hope in some way I can help others as well, is see their innate goodness that may be so hidden, because life can hide things from us, can't, of who that innate goodness, and then start to live out of that innate goodness, which is, to your point, living life. Yeah. Living life fully. And then I think of that word shalom, which you know, is such a great
great word, Hebrew word.
Hebrew word.
Yeah, which means everything as it is. Everything is in place.
Yeah.
Everything fits, you know, in terms of your life and your family and your
spiritually,
community.
Emotionally, all of
everything's working together. So, do you know, but as you were talking, I was thinking, when I was 14, I used to go to youth group at a church, and they taught me to, one of the leaders, a couple of the leaders, one was called Ken, one was called Steve, and they had a band, and they taught me to play the guitar. In fact, Steve taught me to play the guitar, 6-string guitar, and then the bass guitar. Brilliant. You know, it was really good. And then with my friend, Kit, who's kind of same age as me, they were in their early 20s. They asked us to join their band. Yeah. So I was the bass player in the band. Like, I could only play, I learned the bass by rote. Yeah. So I could only ever play those tunes. But anyway, so we'd go out and and they'd line us up to tour youth groups, other youth clubs, and we put on a concert, you know. Brilliant. We did this concert, you know, and we had a set of, I don't know, 8 songs or 10 songs, 5 and 5 and a break. And so I'd do that for a while. And then Steve, you know, he used to say to me, he said, why don't you introduce this song, do you know? Or why don't you do the link into that one? And because I was 14, and he must have been 22. You know?
Old.
Yeah, he was really old. And honestly, I used to think, yeah, well, you know, he's a bit past it, and I'm 14 and I'm a lot cooler than he is. Honestly, I did think that. You know, he obviously realises that I can do this a lot better because I can really mix it with these kids because they're at the same age. And week after week, because this went on for a couple of years, we did this thing, at least. And week on, perhaps a bit 3 years. And I constantly was being asked to speak on these stages. So it grew from introducing a song and linking songs to, why don't you introduce the whole evening? Or why don't you round the whole evening off? You know, why don't you know? And I always thought it's just because he recognises that I've got a bit more about me than him because he's so old. But I realised a long time ago, but not then, that what he was doing was moving me forward. Yeah. He was creating opportunity for me, not dependency. I wasn't the bass player in his band. Yeah. It was our band, and he pushed me out the front. Yeah. And so since the age of 14, literally since the age of 14, I've had the opportunity to stand on stages and communicate and speak.
Yeah, which is brilliant.
It is an amazing thing, isn't it? And I realised that, I don't know, you know, I beat myself up about my lack of ability. And, you know, you always analyse everything you've said on every talk and think, oh, that was a good one, that was a bad one. If only I'd started like that and not like this and finished there and not there. You know, you're always doing that. You've got to kind of constantly edit in your head, I always think. But I realised that every day of my life almost, I trade on what I was taught as a 14-year-old and the opportunity I was given to achieve my God-given potential.
Yeah. I'm really interested in that. You used the word dependency when you were describing the other Steve was not creating dependency. Like, I don't know if I can explain this properly, but there's something quite nice, isn't there? There's a nice feeling about somewhat being someone that helps others. Do you know what I mean? And that speaks to me of like creating a bit of a codependency thing. Like it, you know, I can do by helping you. I can, you know, it's a little bit affirming. It's patronage. You know. Yeah. And I think, you know, your point is about moving forward, but patronage keeps people stuck. doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And you have to move forward with it. It's a hard thing, isn't it? Because you obviously want to give yourself to others. I give myself to my little grandsons, my grandsons. I give myself to them. Yeah. And in one sense, there are things that I can do for them they can't do for themselves. There are opportunities I can create for them that they can't create for themselves. But it's to know as well that relationship changes. So I'm not trying to set up a situation with them where they will always look up to me. No. I know in the end I'll be looking up to them. It's kind of that's the way it works. Our friend Dave, who's the chief executive of Oasis UK, across the whole thing, he joined Oasis as my volunteer driver for a year. So he was learning from me. Now he's my boss. Yeah. So I check out. Well, I did it today. There's something that some people wanted from me. And I said, actually, I don't have the authority to give you these things. Dave's the person you need to talk to about that. If he says it's okay, it's okay, So it's being willing to move on, isn't it, with a relationship?
So how do we... because you can have, say you're in education, you can have expectations of, the children, they come from here. So, you can hear that sometimes, can't you? And you see it in the media, you see, nothing good can come from there. And it's a bit like, nothing good can come from Nazareth. How can we go about lifting the lid on our own expectations? I'm someone who, I know, I've shared the story before of my dad suddenly seeing me doing some stuff. I think I was alongside you on a stage and we were presenting and all the rest of it. And him saying to me, I never thought you'd amount to much. And it's so important that if we are in this kind of work, that we have the highest expectations of ourselves and the highest aspirations and expectations, because otherwise we sit in creating dependency.
Yeah, and that means if we got high expectations of others, is about getting out of the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
To allow them to do it. Something that happened recently in one of the projects we run that I'm involved in. It's called Oasis Village. St Martin's Village. It's in South London. And what we've done there, with the leaders of this today, we gathered together a bunch of local charities and we've given them space and they work together in an integrated way. I was with all the leaders today because we meet every Monday morning and they're a fantastic crew. They really are. But the thing is, we've been working on this project, this village, for, we're well into our second year of operating this now. And it is amazing to see how they've grown. It is amazing to see how they've grown. And genuinely, I was sat there this morning in this meeting and I think, it wouldn't really make much difference whether I'm here or not, because they've sparked with one another and they understand. In fact, at one point in the conversation, we were talking about digital solutions to some of the communication issues. And I actually said, I don't know why I'm even speaking because I haven't got a clue what you're all talking about. I can't, I can see that it's something good, but just get on and do it. You've got to get out their way. A way in which that happened, actually, I was pleased that I was able to act as I did. So to cut a long story short, it's a long story, but cut it short, there was so much going on between these charities and we're attracting quite a lot of attention because we're getting people to work collaboratively, with one another. And that for me is about them achieving their potential, growing, et cetera, growing their reach, their capacity, all of that. Well, anyway, to cut a long story short, Prince William, the Prince of Wales, decided to visit us. Yeah. And everything was planned. And so the week before, people were saying to me, well, what role will you play in all this, Steve? And I said, I'm not coming. And they said, you're skipping the Prince. I said, no, I'm not snubbing the Prince. I said, it's absolutely fantastic. I said, the thing is, I've just got I've got a really important meeting that I can't get out of, which was kind of true, you know. You can always get out of anything, can't you? If you say, I've got to go and meet a member of the royal family, I suppose. I said, I got this meeting, I can't be there. So I didn't go. And the reason I didn't go, of course, is because I knew that if I went, he'd end up asking me about how all this happened. And it would come about me creating opportunity for these people and their dependency on me. Well, I'm absolutely sure that I think the day was a huge success, everybody tells me. And I'm sure they got through the whole of the day just talking about what they were doing. And him being excited by what they were doing. So they get further, and their enthusiasm and their ability to move forward to their potential grows. I'm quite sure none of them ever mentioned me, which was wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not always that good at sorting these things out ahead of time, but I think for me, in my little life, that's an example of what I need to do to create the opportunity and then to get out the way so that a person can fulfill their potential, which is what my friend Steve did for me when he pushed me forward to round up the evening instead of saying, well, I'm the leader of this, I put it together, so I should.
Yeah, I was reading earlier today, I think it's Simon Sinek, but it was Richard Branson who was referencing it. And it was something like, leadership is not about how many followers you have. It's how many leaders you've created. It's to that point, isn't it? It can't be about you. It's actually, what am I enabling to happen? Not what am I dominating, but what am I enabling to happen? And you can only do that. And I was just thinking, there is such a strong connection between your experience of being enabled by the other Steve and then what that has led to for you.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what every single one of us needs to do in order to become better at this, being caught by our mission and not creating dependency or having a lid on our expectations, is to really dig into our own stories. How did we get here? Who was it who gave us the foot up and the opportunity?
The whole thing happened to me again, so I'm really repeating the story, but it's a true story in a different way. But before I set up Oasis, I worked for a church as a youth worker for 4 years in Tunbridge in Kent. And at that time, they were setting up a new commercial radio station for Kent. It's called Invicta. And I was asked to sit on a group. I was 25, 26, 27, something like that. And I was asked to sit on this group because the churches could have an input on Sunday morning, do a Sunday morning show. And I thought, wow, that would be fantastic. So I went along to this group, and there was a guy called Peter, much older than me, who had been involved in radio. He was a seasoned broadcaster. And he was really good, and that we talked to the bosses of the station, etc., etc. And he knew what he was talking. He really understood what he was doing, and so then they said, "Well, you've got to think about this, but you've got this opportunity, actually, of presenting a Sunday morning show from 6 a.m. till 9 every Sunday morning across the whole of Kent." And you can also, we'd like you to do the charts as well on a Tuesday evening. And I thought, well, that'd be good. And Peter said, oh, that's really good. That's really good. Anyway, away we went. And I thought, God, yeah, that's going to be a great opportunity for Peter. He phoned me up and he said, can I meet you? And I went to have a coffee with him. And he said, I've decided you should do it. And I just couldn't get my head around that at all, because he'd just been offered this slot on commercial radio across Kent, and he said, "You can do it," and the charts, etc. So I did Sunday and Tuesday evenings, and I learned to drive a studio, as they call it. I learned I learned so much to interview guests. I did, and to work to time and to hit the news on time and all that kind of stuff. I did all that and I couldn't work it out. And then I decided it was because he didn't want to get up early on Sunday morning, because you had to get up dead early to be broadcasting by 6. But it took me years to work out that all he wanted to do was give me the opportunity. And because he gave me that opportunity, then I was able to launch things that helped Oasis get in it. We ran this thing called Radio Cracker. And I still, when I go on radio or TV, I still meet people who were launched. Yeah, I know people working in national broadcasting, as you do, who they were launched into all this. Yeah, and started. So, we are just links in a chain, aren't we? We carry the baton for a while, but our job is to hand it on.
But right at the heart of that, Steve, is this belief that says this person right in front of me deserves it, they can and they will achieve.
Yes.
Not, there's literally a belief that says, they can do it. Yeah. And they will do it. And you said right at the start of our talk tonight, and you were saying, that it's about people having the opportunity to move forward, to discover more fully who they are. And I've always thought, like, every time I ever read any of the stories about Jesus and all the rest of it, I'm always like, he never left anyone where they were. It was always
to move them
forward, to do something, to engage them in some way, which would just nudge them into that sense of, but there's more, and there's this goodness that you just can't see fully yet, but here's a little bit more of a window into that. And I just think, wow.
Absolutely. And I think that a key part of that we really ought to add to it is, it's no good going around saying, you're great, you're great, you're great. What you're going to do is point out what a person's great at. Say, you're really good at that. Yeah. You did that well. You spoke really well. The kindness you showed to that other person. I saw your generosity. That was a real gift that you provided for someone. So to tell people what they're good at, instead of that nebulous, you're great, which can mean, it's a bit like see ya or something, isn't it? Yeah. It means nothing, really. So that phraseology, they talk about ruinous empathy versus radical candor. Yeah. Ruinous empathy is when I just, you're wonderful, Jill. Yeah. And so you go away with well, what am I wonderful? Yeah, what does that mean? So radical candor sees a person's potential, what they're good at, and encourages them in that, and also will correct them. You did that brilliantly well, and if you did it like that, it would be even better. Yeah. So that's the support that we need. That's the support I need. It's the support that we should be giving. And I've benefited through my life from Steve, from Peter, from endless other people who've said to me, hey, that was good. You can do that. Why don't you do it like this? Why don't you add to it in that way? So perhaps out of this particular episode of our podcast, it's about you and me going away and saying, so how do I do that for someone tomorrow? Who do I spot? Who do I see? Who do I hear? Who can I encourage to fulfill their potential?
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Jill.